A man reaches out and pokes at the gold in the sand. His eyes practically pop out of his head. Just this exposed chunk could fund a lifetime of lazy living and wild spending. His hand sticks to the gold like glue and he can't bear to move. But here's the problem. He can't even budge a tiny piece on his own. After dawdling for ages, he finally yells at his buddy, "Hurry over here, there's treasure." His buddy is already annoyed. "Didn't you go to pee? What kind of treasure could there be?" But when he sees the gold, he's instantly stunned. He pulls out a lighter and burns it. Wow, real gold is tough. The flame licks at it and not a mark is left. But looking at this massive chunk, the two men scratch their heads, confused. How are they going to move it? They grab shovels and start digging. They work hard for ages, but only a corner of the gold shows. They stubbornly try to lift it, using all their strength. But the gold might as well be anchored in the ground. It doesn't move at all. Unbelievable, there's literally tens of tons of gold here. They drive a car to tow it, but the rope snaps with a pop, kicking up dust that chokes them. They have no choice but to keep struggling with the gold. Shovels swing rapidly, and the more they dig, the more shocked they get. This isn't just a block of gold, it's a gold mountain. A conservative estimate, easily worth $10 billion. As the sun sets, the buddy throws down his shovel. "We need to start a fire to keep coyotes away." They gather dry wood and light it, sitting around the fire and getting more excited. "After this, we can relax for the rest of our lives." They even jump around the fire in excitement. But excitement aside, only what they can take is real. The buddy suggests, "I'll stay and watch. You're not familiar with the desert. Drive to town tomorrow and get an excavator. We'll split the gold evenly." Now, let's set the scene. The man is Virgil, who has a limp. He wanted to cross the desert for a job in the east. The buddy, Keith, is a local driver who takes people across the desert. They don't get along. They even fought on the road. When the car broke down, Keith lost his temper. Virgil is taking a leak when he stumbles onto a literal mountain of gold. Why bother with a job now? This could make him the richest man on the planet. But the gold is a hot potato. They can't move it an inch. So their only hope is an excavator. Virgil wonders, "I'm an outsider. By the time I get back with that excavator, Keith might have cleaned out every ounce." So he insists on staying to guard the gold, sending Keith to fetch the machine instead. To his surprise, Keith nods agreeably. The next morning, Keith leaves water, trail mix, a knife, and a satellite phone with Virgil. "Only answer calls. Don't let that gold out of your sight," he says, then hits the gas and speeds off, shouting over his shoulder.
"By the time I get back, we'll be rich as all hell."
Keith estimates the round trip will take 5 days. Virgil immediately gears up, determined to hold his post. Virgil first buries the gold deep, ensuring it's completely hidden. He then hangs a tarp from a tree to create a sunshade. In the desert, a single drop of water is more precious than gold. He doesn't even wash his hands after using the restroom. Days are so hot you could fry an egg on the sand. Nights, he eats canned food while fending off coyotes that seem ready to pounce. It's like living in a prison. But one glance at the gold mountain gives him a surge of energy. 5 days pass in a blink, and the phone remains silent as if dead. Suddenly, a fierce wind kicks up. Terrified the sand might shift and expose the gold, Virgil quickly lays down a layer of stones as camouflage. He slings his bag over his shoulder to find shelter and spots a plane wreckage, perfect for blocking wind and sand. But every 3 minutes, he looks back, wondering, what if someone steals the gold? The thought gnaws at him until he can't sit still. Limping, he starts prying metal sheets off the plane, dragging them back to his site one trip at a time. His neck is sunburned and peeling like a roasted pork shoulder, but to Virgil, the pain is trivial compared to the gold mountain. Virgil uses metal sheets to build a makeshift tent, positioning it so he can see the gold mountain with just a glance up. Only then does he dare to close his eyes for a nap. But when he wakes, his forehead is sunburned and peeling, itching and throbbing as if he's been roasted alive. 2 more days pass and Virgil is completely drained. He grabs a rock and chips off a piece of gold, hugging it in his arms and muttering, "This tiny chunk probably won't even fetch $5 million. Just then, Keith calls.
"You had something like this land in your lap before?
Virgil scoffs inwardly. No kidding. Who the hell has?
You want to risk losing it?"
Virgil stares at the mountain, gritting his teeth. "I'd regret this for the rest of my life if I walk away." Keith presses, "Guard that mountain. I'm heading back now." And just like that, greed hooks Virgil again. He stays. That night, he waves a torch at coyotes, but they barely flinch. He collapses onto the sand, terrified. Is this how my luck runs out? By day 9, his skin is a mass of sores, pockmarked and raw. Virgil coyotes down his last bite of trail mix, leaving only a single sip of water in his canteen. Suddenly, a black-ringed snake lunges out. One bite could kill him instantly, but driven by starvation, he grabs his knife and charges. The snake flees, but when Virgil turns around, his last jug of water lies spilled on the sand. He scoops up the muddy mess with his hands, heart sinking. This is it. The next day, while prying apart the plane's shell, he spots a woman walking by. What's anyone doing in this godforsaken place? He wonders. Then he realizes his own plane stripping is just as bizarre, so he ducks into the wreckage. But the woman marches straight toward him. Panicked, he shoves the gold chunk into his backpack and climbs out, pretending to work calmly. She seems to sense something, though, and presses, "Why are you out here alone?"
Nervous little f***er, aren't you?
You look nervous. Fearful of exposing the gold mountain, Virgil stays silent. She heads for his camp and he hurries to block her. "My buddy's picking me up soon. Take the plane. Just leave me alone."
Okay? Off!
One look at the camp and she snaps. "You're lying. What treasure are you hiding? Talk!" With tens of tons of gold buried here and the woman seconds from uncovering the secret, Virgil panics. In a desperate shove, he accidentally kills her. He stands there, stunned, hands shaking as he digs a shallow grave. He finds water and jerky in her bag, a temporary lifeline, but no sooner does he bury the body than coyotes dig it up again. He has no choice but to light a torch and burn the remains to ash. 3 days later, his water is gone, and Virgil feels like a skeleton. Finally, Keith calls. Got the excavator, towing it slow. "Guard that gold with your life. I got a phone plan. Call if you need anything." Virgil cries out, "How many times have you bailed on me? Am I supposed to die out here?" Just then, he hears an engine. He grabs the gold chunk, ready to run, only to see a station wagon passing by. One wave, and he could escape this hell. "This gold in my hand is enough," he thinks. But then he looks at the mountain. "I've waited this long. Keith could arrive any minute. Half of this would set me for life." So he stays. Day 15, a sandstorm hits. Virgil crawls and tumbles back to his tent for the gold chunk, only to find the door torn off by the wind. With his life on the line, he finally drops the gold and runs for cover. The tent is shredded to scraps by the sandstorm, and a tree crashes down on him. When he comes to, a branch is impaled through his stomach, making him shudder in pain. As soon as he regains his senses, he searches for the backpack with his gold, but it's empty. The gold chunk is buried under who knows how much sand, and his cans are filled with grit. He claws at the ground, crawling until he unearths the gold mountain. Only when his hands touch the gold does he feel a flicker of relief. Gritting his teeth, Virgil yanks out the branch and ties his shirt around the wound to stop the bleeding. If untreated, it'll fester and rot. He pulls out a flint, heats a can lid until it glows, and presses it against the wound. He squeezes blood from his shirt, then smears sand over the raw, oozing skin. He's a shadow of a man, half dead and delirious, when he looks up to find a crossbow aimed at him. The woman standing there is a mirror image of the one he killed. Virgil is literally risking his life to guard this gold mountain, and he's plagued by hallucinations. He swears the woman is feeding him water, feels scorpions crawling under his skin, even sees her eyes blazing like fire. But when he finally snaps out of it, the satellite phone rings. He digs it out of the dirt and barks into it, demanding of Keith, "When exactly are you arriving? I'm about to die, and there's a woman here stalking me." Keith's voice tightens. "Did she see the gold? Hold on, I'm on my way," Virgil wails. "Hurry, for God's sake." As he crawls to bury the gold beside the mountain, he looks up to find the dead woman standing there watching him. It wasn't a hallucination. "There's a water hole a few miles away. I can take you there. You'll make it," she says. But Virgil snarls at her like a distrustful animal. "Get the hell away!" He's terrified she'll steal the gold. Frowning, she asks, "Have you seen my sister? She looks identical to me." Virgil freezes, panic rising, and repeats hoarsely, "Go!" She studies him for a moment, then turns and walks away. Virgil crawls to the edge of the gold mountain and calls Keith again. "Where are you? I got rid of that woman." Keith breathes a sigh of relief. 10 minutes out! But Virgil is barely clinging to life, urging Keith to hurry because a pack of coyotes has surrounded him. "Get the f*** out of here!" Hungry coyotes don't flinch, though. They growl menacingly, closing in. As Virgil stares down the alpha coyote, suddenly, gasping for breath, he snarls into the phone. "Where the hell are you? Why aren't you here yet?" Silence on the other end. Virgil loses it. "You useless bastard! The gold is mine!" The coyotes pounce, tearing at him. He curls into a ball, helpless as they drag him away. In his final moments, his eyes stay fixed on the gold mountain. Meanwhile, Keith lowers his binoculars and smirks. He's been there for days, waiting for Virgil to die so he can take the gold for himself. He drives lazily to the mountain, glances at Virgil's body with disdain, then turns back to his car for tools. Bang! He drops to the ground, shot. Both men lie dead beside the gold. The million-dollar question: who fired that arrow? The film is Gold, a low-budget drama that powerfully exposes human greed through its three main characters. The lesson: know when to quit. Endless greed only leads to self-destruction. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit the like button and subscribe. See you next time.